Welcome back, guys. This will be the fourth part of our Android ATM project. And in this one, we're going to implement the transaction function and we're going to implement the withdrawal function. In the last video, we implemented the see my button balance. So now, let's get into the video, guys. If you guys enjoyed the video and would like to support the channel, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. So let's get started. First, we're going to implement the withdrawal transaction option. And we're going to create, just like we did here, with the setup button see my balance, we're going to create a similar function. And we're going to name it setup button withdrawal. Now let's go underneath here and let's create the code. Now that we got that done, let's continue using the binding keyword. And let's look into the ET user input, which is where we're going to find the user input. And we're going to say request focus. When the user clicks on the button withdrawal, they'll be instantly focused on now the ET user input, where they're going to put their amount of cash that they want to withdraw. So now we're going to say make user input and amount visible. This will be a function that we're going to create in just an instant. I'm going to keep it above the make balance visible. We're going to say private function, just like we did with other ones, and make user input on visible. And in here, we're going to add 3 functionalities. And this will be just going to make the TV choose amount visible, because we want to make the user input amount visible. So we're going to make that the TV choose amount visible. We're going to do that for ET user input and the button submit. So I'll do that real quick and I'll come back to you guys in a second. Okay, so now that I got that done, what I did here is I just made the TV choose amount visible, the ET user input visible, and the button submit visible. These three buttons and edit text were previously invisible, but I want to allow the user, when they click on the button withdrawal, I wanted to make and be able to choose a user input, and I can easily do this by making the ET user input visible, and I'll show the choose amount so that they can know that I'm requesting for an amount of cash that they want to withdraw. Now when they exit now when they click again or they try to access the button withdrawal again, I made the ET user input text clear. So now the next time they go into the ET user input, the last input or cash that they wanted to withdraw will not be saved, and they'll be able to choose a new amount that they want to withdraw. So now we can move on into the code of the withdrawal. So let's get that done. So first, we're going to say if the TV balance is visible, we want to make it invisible. Because again, we only want to make the withdrawal button options when we click on it, which are these: the ET user input, the choose amount, and the button submit, be visible when we click on the button withdrawal. We do not want to make the button see my balance visible. So that with this if statement, we're going to be checking if it's visible, and if it is, we'll just make it invisible. So we go to TV my balance, and let's just make that invisible. Okay, so now we're done with that. Now we can go inside the button submit, and we're going to store the amount of money that the user wants to withdraw. We're going to say ET user input, and we're going to go inside the text. This is where the amount is being stored, and we're going to convert it into a string. So now the amount variable holds an amount, but in type string. So to turn that into an int, we can create another variable and say amount as int, and we're going to watch out for null pointers. So we're going to say amount to int or null, and if it is null, we're going to just amount as int, set it up to 0. This is called an else operator, and it works the same as an if or else statement. So the only thing that this line does is saying, let's store the amount as an int if the user input is valid and it's not null, or let's set amount as int to null, but if it's null, just give it an amount of 0. So now that we got the user input's amount stored in a variable, we can write an if condition where we're going to check if the amount they're trying to withdraw exceeds their limit, which is their current balance. So you can say if amount as int is greater than account balance, we want to do is just create an alert dialog. Just create an alert dialog, and we can do this by using the alert dialog and then saying builder and then giving it a context of this. Here we're saying alert dialog dot builder is asking for context, which we can give it our main activity, which is our class. So we're going to create an alert dialog in our main activity, and then we're going to set title. So the title for this alert dialog, we're going to use those string resources that we created before in our last couple of videos. We're going to say get string, and we're going to say r.string. So here we're just saying access the resource file and then go to string, and then let's access the alert that we created as a string resource. And we're going to do the same for set my message. We're going to say get string r.string, and we're going to do the unsuccessful withdrawal because the amount is greater than the account balance, so we cannot successfully withdraw. Okay. We're going to concatenate another string, and we're going to say account balance. Same thing here. Now that we're done with the message and the title, we can just say create, and then for the final touch, we're going to say alert dialog dot show. So we also have to add this final piece of code, alert dialog dot show, so that we can actually show our dialog when this if statement returns true. So now let's go into the else. So if it's not greater than the amount, let's change this to val, so we're not going to be changing this alert dialog later on. We can keep it as immutable. And now let's go into the else condition. So if it's not greater than, then we can, successfully withdraw. I'm going to say submit transaction. We're going to have a new function called submit transaction, and it's going to have two parameters. One for the amount that we're trying to withdraw, and transaction options, which is our enum class, and we're going to pass the constant withdrawal. So now let's go on to create the submit transaction function. Let's go below here and let's create the submit transaction function. In here, like I said, we're going to have two parameters. We did it in our IntelliJ video. We're going to use the when statement, and we're going to say transaction options. When transaction options is a transaction options deposit, so if it's type deposit, what we're going to do is account balance. We're going to say plus or equal to amount as int, which is right here. And then we're going to say we're going to access the TV my balance, to access the text, and we're going to say get string r.string my balance. And then we're going to concatenate to add that $sign to make it look more presentable and more realistic. And we're going to say access the account balance variable. So now we're done with that part, and now let's create a dialog. And in this dialog, we're just going to say successful. We're we're going to let the user know that they made a successful deposit. So just basically the same thing that we created above. We can just copy this, alter some of the code. So set title, keep the alert, but change this to successful deposit. And now in here, so we got the title, the set message, or the string, successful deposit. And we're going to say plus account balance, delete the little space here. Now we got the create alert dialog, and then say make user input and amount visible. Now we have to add our other option. And the other option is just transaction options withdrawal. Same procedure, but now we're going to take away from the account balance. So we're going to say minus or equal to amount of it. Access the TV balance. We can finish it off quicker. Now that we got this done, we can say successful withdrawal. And to fix this, we can just click here, then set suppress text with annotation. So we got that done. We can just go to here and then say again, make user input and amount visible. So in summary, what this whole block of code just does is that it's just responsible for handling the logic of the deposit and the transaction options. It updates the account balance, displays an alert dialog with relevant information, and makes the UI visible again. So now that we're done with this part of the code, we can go on to creating the deposit transaction function. So let's go on about that. Set up deposit, and let's go above here. Say binding dot deposit. Same procedure. Let's call that function that we just created right now. Now let's create it. Let's access the user input. Let's now make the user input and amount visible. Let's access the TV balance and make that invisible. Now let's go to the submit button. Amount, like we did last time. Again, amount as int so that we can avoid new pointers. And just call the submit transaction function and pass amount as int and our transaction options, and let's pass the type deposit. So now I'm going to check for any errors in our code and I'll be right back. So now there was only one thing that we made a little error, and if you guys can just go to the setup button withdrawal function and then just go to this line of code 51, just add this $sign before the account balance. And so if you guys can just go back to the code, go to the function, submit transaction, and on line 79, just instead of having the account balance, just say successful withdrawal plus amount as int, and same thing for the deposit message. Let's run the app and let's check it out. Let's click on see my balance, and we should start off with initial amount of 0. Now let's click on deposit and let's deposit an amount of 300. Click on submit, and now cash has been accepted. Total amount inserted 300. Nice. So now let's click see my balance and we should have 300. Let's go to withdrawal, and first let's try to take out more than we have. So let's exceed the limit. So 301. Click on submit. Withdrawal amount exceeds your current balance. Your balance is 300. So now we're alerting the user that they cannot amount that exceeds their account balance. So this is good. Now let's take away that one. And let's say that's what we want to withdraw, 300. Click on submit. Take your cash, 300. Let's go to balance, and we should have 0. So that's it for the whole app. If you guys enjoyed this journey and enjoyed the app that we just made, and I can't wait for you guys to see what we come up with next. Make sure to leave a comment, like, and subscribe. See you guys in the next video.